All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Provoke Coach podcast. As always, we're here to really kind of share provoking stories of provoking people that have had monster success and that people that are high performers. Okay, so I have with us tonight a special guest, a gentleman that I haven't been able to really touch base with in a long time, but I've been following and he's been following me, and been following each other together. Mr. Gabriel de Jesus. Thank you so much for coming on.
Man, it's been so long, and I'm so glad to be here. First of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everyone listening out there to this podcast and watching us live right now or in the future. But thank you, Clinton, for having me. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, you knew me since before I had all this hair down here and in my beard. I used to have nice hair up here in my scalp, and now it's gone. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, you've aged well, my friend. You've aged well. I mean, and just to really kind of fill these, these guys and gals that are listening in, like the last time that you and I were like working together, you must have been like 18 years old.
I think I started. Yeah, I was 17. No, I was 18. Definitely 18. Just turned 18. Little baby.
Just turned 18. I just remember the little baby face. Now you have a full man beard. That's just fantastic. Well, look, there's going to be some people that are listening right now and watching that they know who you are, right? They know your story. They know where you come from. But there's going to be a lot of people that don't. Okay. And so why don't you kind of tell us, what are you doing right now in the present day? What is your job, right? Yeah. What is your passion? What do you do for a living? Talk to us about that.
Got it. So right now I'm just, how can I tell you? I'm a dad, and that's the first thing, a husband and a dad. That's my first job and the one that I precious the most. Just had a baby girl right now. She's a month old, Gabriela.
Congratulations.
So it's completely in love. You know how it is. You're a girl's dad. So team girl's dad. Here we go.
Yeah.
And well, a little bit about me. I graduated from FAU in marketing. I love marketing. I love music. That's my thing. But I kind of, and we'll talk about this later, but I wanted to pursue a career in marketing. And I thought that's what I wanted inside. But then I started realizing things in life and make some turns. And what do I do now? Well, I create content on YouTube, and I create specifically music, worship music. I've been leading worship for a long time. And it was a passion that I had since I was a kid. And I can truly say right now that I can do that. If things go the way they're going, I would love to do it full time, but that's what I do. So I do YouTube content that benefits not only the listeners, but the local churches around. And that's just a little summary of what I'm doing right now at the moment.
Fantastic. And just to really kind of fill people in on what your music presence is, right? Like you're very well known. Not only in the industry, but in your niche as well, because, now your music is entirely Espanol, correct?
Or yeah, so it's in Spanish, in Espanol, right? Completely. Yep. And it's people will categorize it as gospel, Christian gospel, basically, but in Spanish. So it's all worship. That's what I've been doing since I was probably 7 years old when I first started singing, then recorded my first album. I think it was at 21, 22. And I've been doing that ever since, but that's what I do. It's just solely Christian music. And now with the whole YouTube and social media, it's just kind of taken a world of its own. It's amazing, really.
Yeah. And it really is, I mean, I know that you've been able to do some local shows. I know that you've been able to really get into the community virally, I mean, I don't know how many subscribers you have, but a lot. I mean, and I guess we can talk about how you mix marketing with that, because you kind of have, that's like a cheat code, right? Like most artists don't have that. They hire somebody to kind of have that. But as far as music, let's talk about that for a second, because I know that's, your passion. And those of you that have not heard Gabe, and I still call you Gabe, so I'm sorry if you go by Gabriel now. Yeah, now that you're older and more mature, I always think of the young Gabe. But look, with your music, I mean, where do you foresee that in the future? I mean, is that going to be a thing that you're really chasing,
Yeah.
that brass ring of music right now?
So,
Or
so one of the things is I've always sang. I mean, that's always been a talent that I had since I was a kid. And I think that when you're a kid and you find that talent in a very young age, you kind of
Mhm.
clinch to that, you hold into that identity, and you
Mhm.
never want to let it go because it's like the guy who plays football, who is a wrestler, right? You
Yeah.
hold on to that gift because it sets you apart from everyone else. So when I was a
Mm.
kid, I discovered that talent. Actually, my great grandmother took me to church for the first time. I was like 5 or 6 years old, and she was like, "Do you want to lead a song?" And I was like, "Okay, what song?" And in smaller churches where I grew up, you sang hymns, and usually those hymns
Yeah.
that we just sang used to repeat the words over and over again. So I really didn't have to memorize anything. She was just like, "This is what you're gonna say. This is how you're gonna sing it. Go ahead and lead that service." So I stood in front of everyone, and I was completely nervous, and I just sang. And I remember it was the best feeling in the world because I was doing what I love, which was to worship God, and people were just responding to that talent that God gave me, and I just felt this connection immediately. So I started singing, and every time I grab a mic or I get invited to a church to sing, I do it out of the passion of my heart because I truly, as a Christian man, I love God. I love the fact that other people can have that encounter with Christ, and it just
Right.
connects me, to that. But assuming, like, just fast forwarding now, as far as the YouTube channel, a fun fact is I started this YouTube channel not with the intentions of just getting, like, not getting known or like having all these subscribers. And by the way, I think right now we're like at 78,000 subscribers. We're there to almost 100,000. But it wasn't the intentions. The intentions were to just record interviews for the Christian, market, the people that were listening to it. And then when this whole pandemic happened, churches were not able to meet. And I'm not talking about just here in Florida or in the United States. I'm talking about the whole
Right.
entire world. You got, people in Nicaragua, Argentina. I just spoke to a guy right now not so long ago through WhatsApp. He was telling me how, like, in his country, only 30% of people are able to meet or congregate. I mean, I don't know how that looks like, but it's not that many
Wow.
people. So
Yeah.
they were being affected through this whole pandemic. And I just decided to grab a mic, record. I invited one of my good friends, great talented musician, Alexis Santalis, and he got on the piano. And I said, let's just record this. And the intentions were for churches locally, right, to use
Hmm.
the videos. And I thought it was just only the few people that, knew me here in Florida. Well,
Right.
YouTube is bigger than just Florida. I'll tell you that for sure. Bigger than
Yeah,
Broward
for
County.
sure.
And
Wow.
everyone started sharing the videos. And YouTube has this great way of showing you when someone takes your content. So it's like a little tab on the side that says copyright. And I just basically started seeing people sharing all my videos, but not just sharing them. They were having full on worship service with them. Like, they had someone
Wow.
talk, and then they show my video, and I was just completely in shock. And
Wow.
one of the great things I think that occur in the channel was the fact that I started recording older songs that connected me in a special moment of my life. I think we all have music
Yes.
has this great thing about connecting people, right? Like, we
100%.
listen to we can go to a concert and not know each other, but as long as we know the lyrics, we'll just look at each other like, "Hey, man, we got the same
Right.
artist that we love." Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I started singing songs that when I was maybe 9 or 10, I had this great encounter with God that I remember just this passion, this fire of wanting to know him more through the scriptures and everything else. And I started singing these songs, and I said, how great would it be if someone would bring these songs back again and someone would sing them? What would
Like
that
the
generate?
oldies.
Yeah, what would happen? The oldies, yeah, but in
Yeah.
a modern sound, and
Sure.
that's how the YouTube channel started growing, and it's amazing right now what we're experiencing.
Wow. Wow. So let's talk about the future
Yeah,
then for a second. I mean, obviously, I know that, you're a planner. I mean, you're a thinker, obviously being in marketing, and we'll talk about that in a second. It is always about a strategic
yeah,
plan of action, right? Where do you see it into the future? Because,
yeah,
COVID's always going to be an issue right now, or at
absolutely.
least something will be.
Something's gonna come up.
So,
That's right.
so for you, I mean, are you seeing it evolve into something different,
Well, I
perhaps? Or
think right now with everything that happened in COVID, it just kind of like made things obvious where, the online presence was always there, but there's
yeah.
more to view it. And as a marketer and everything else, I was always intrigued with social media. I was always in the same, and any social media that comes up, I would try to check it out. That was my thing.
Yeah.
But how can I tell you? How can I see this whole thing with YouTube and the great the content that we're providing and the people, the feedback? I would love to take what we're doing right now, which started with a cause of churches, and being able to provide some type of service to churches. So we got this brand. It's called Adoración Real, which translates to English is called real worship. And this is just me. I think that if you believe in God, that should just go beyond your beliefs, and it should be into actions, right? So you should love your neighbor more than you love yourself. Like that's just commandment, right? You should love your God more than anything. I mean, Jesus, this is just what I believe and I live by. They asked Jesus, listen, out of all the commandments, which is the most important commandment? He says, love your God with all your heart, your mind, and all your strength, and love your neighbor as as you love yourself. And I think that if you are proclaimed to be a Christian or proclaimed to be someone that loves God, that should have hands and feet. And what do I mean by that? Taking care of the people around you. So one of the great things that I see about this channel and the growth is to equip churches where they, churches right now all over United States and the world had to learn how to go online. I mean, they had to know how to grab a camera and go live. I mean, if not, people will not congregate. They will not go anyplace. They just, kind of die out. And I see that need, and I see that in worship. I see that in teaching. So one of the things that I do, I didn't tell you that, but I teach in a construction school, and I help people pass the business and finance part of the general contractor and plumbing and all that stuff. And I just love teaching. And I think that right now, with everything that's going on, it's very important for people to add into their resume the fact that they need to use social media. It's a tool to get a message out there. My message happens to be the gospel. My message happens to be the music that I do for the Lord. But that's a different message for an entrepreneur, for someone who else is writing a book or has a message. They need to use that media that's available right now.
Yeah. Well, and I think that for the church, it seems like there would be, and I think that you're kind of touching on the surface of that, this mass like involvement with social media, because most of social media is toxic. I mean, we all agree with that. It's horrible to say, but people are constantly thumbing through this. I did a presentation last night for a summit, Unleash Your Greatness Summit. And one of the first things that I talked about was consumption. What you consume, you become. And when you're constantly thumbing through Facebook and Instagram and you're seeing this, like, do you think that, and I mean, I don't know if this is something you could answer, but maybe somebody can, maybe we should call the Vatican. What is the church, or what is, the religious groups, what are they doing about that? Are they even competing, or are they not even venturing to that social media? Because I don't see it. And I follow a lot of great people that are good, God-loving people. And I don't see as much of it as what you would think.
Yeah. So two things. Just referring to the Bible, it says that your eyes are the lamps to your body. I mean, whatever you see, it's whatever you let in your soul, right? So if you consume these darkness, you will be full of darkness. If you consume light, you will be with light. Now, as far as churches, two things can happen, and I'll share my heart out with you. Two things can happen. One, you can do it for self-gratification, like you can do it for the sense of getting known, right?
Yeah.
And when you're doing something for other people, it's so sad when I see sometimes, when you do something, you should. There's this thing in the Bible that says, do not give with your right hand and let your left hand know. Or, in other words, like, don't do things to tell people that you do it. Like, if you're doing it for that, your heart's not in the right place, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you see that, you see churches of people of great influence try to do things just for them to get recognition and known. And I think that's an internal battle with society now. But then you see those social media platforms that are there to educate people. I mean, in everything.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, I know churches that will take their platforms to educate their people in monies and how to manage money. A lot of churches that I know on this trend.
So that's interesting. So they are really going into other
Yeah,
things
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
attract attention.
Anything I think that helps, anything that helps
Ah,
other
I so
community,
love
right?
that.
The community. So in the church
That's
that
a
I'm
good
in right
strategy.
now, so the church that I'm in right now, it's you guys can check it out. It's called 954church.com. It's called Riverside. And one of the things that God has put in the pastor's heart is to do this thing called the bridge, and it's connecting the church with the youth, but not just connecting them like a boys and girls club. It's more like helping them figure out a career. And I think
Yeah.
that if you are in the purpose of a church, obviously to glorify God beyond all things, but second is to be able to be a blessing and provide fruit to the people around them. So if you are a church, if you are a religious organization, the question really is, what are you using the gifts that God has given you, and what are you using as the platforms that God has allowed you to have? What are you
Yeah.
producing? What are you giving? Are you doing it for self-gratification, for self-enrichment, or are you being a blessing to others? That's the question,
Right.
and that's the fine line that people kind of struggle with.
Yeah, and do you think that, I mean, obviously there's all sorts of that in
Yeah.
social media. I think that, how do I want to put it? Like it's like in coaching, like
Mm.
in life coaching and business coaching. I really struggle with the people that are all about themselves on what they,
Yeah.
like every third picture is a picture of them, right? Like, and you're wondering, where's all the rest of the content? Like, where's all the rest of the message? What are you teaching these people? Like that you look good in a professional photo, like, and we've all had them. Like that's okay to do, right? For business or
Yeah.
for your purpose. Like you're an artist, like you got some awesome professional photos, but we don't see Gabe
Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
because it's more about the message. It's more about the music. I guess, for you, knowing what you know about marketing and social media, what I guess is some advice or steps that, people can really take to really filter through that? Because
Yeah.
like you just said, you're only going to allow certain things in. Is it really that consumption? Is it not following people that are
Yeah.
toxic and that are not adding value to your life? Talk to me
So
about
to
that for
put
a
that
second.
in my perspective and the way that I look through things through the gospel and as a Christian, I've
Yeah.
learned to just put my eyes on Jesus. Right now, that for other people that might look like, where are you putting your eyes? Are you putting your eyes on the message, or are you putting your eyes on the messenger? Because the
Mm.
messenger can always fall, right, and the
Yeah.
message will stay true. So I think that, and you see it everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
forget about, now as Christians, let's talk about, like you said right now, coaches, right? So you have people that are diehard, follow this guy or this guy. And if that guy does this, they follow that. They don't
Yeah.
really think about why they're following and what's the message behind. And whenever
Yeah.
that leader wakes up and decides to do something else, and he does something contrary to what he said before, they're going to follow. So I think
Yeah.
having a good foundation on the structure that you're following or what you're pursuing or the message that you're doing, and
Yeah.
staying concrete there and teaching people, hey, it's about the message. It's not about me. I am just a product of the message, right? I think that's
Powerful. Yeah.
very, very strong with anything that you do. Have a
Yeah.
strong foundation and follow that foundation. Great to have motivators, great to have people that would encourage you. But what is the goal? What is the objective? That's what you have to ask
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, and I like what you said is, are you following the message or are you following messenger? Because wow, isn't that something? Like that could even go with politics, that could go
Yeah.
with, spokespeople in businesses, CEOs, leaders, heads of,
Yeah.
many different organizations. And that's really a powerful message, right? No
Yeah.
pun intended.
The
But
thing is that I think this. I mean, man, men and self will fail. We're made of flesh and bone, so we're gonna trip. We're
right,
gonna do things. We're gonna get angry. In any organization, the CEO might make a decision based on his own emotions and everything else. I mean, it's just part of the nature.
right.
And if you're not kind of focused on what the mission is, you will lose sight, because you will look at that fragile person in that moment. And
Yeah,
I think what is important is that message to keep in
yeah.
mind. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's go ahead and just really kind of talk about, you said you're a father, you're a husband, right? I knew you when you were a kid yourself, right? So definitely some catching up. You have a brand new daughter.
That's right.
How long have you been married? Let's talk about family life just for a
Yeah.
second. For those
So
that
so
you don't know.
married 6 years. I met my wife in church, which is
Wow.
crazy because, we used to work together, at the gym, and, my
Yeah.
wife used to go to the gym, and I had no idea. I met her in
Oh,
church, and then she's like, "I go to that gym." I was like, "What? I worked in that gym forever." But we met in church, and, it was a great story. My wife, I mean, I'm completely it's been 6 years. We've dated for, like, 5 years before we got married.
wow.
I was trying to finish school. She was doing school too. And we just kind of respected that moment. We loved the fact that we were able to, grow in that period of being
Yeah.
single in our life and then getting married. And then the product of that love, after 6 years of being married is my beautiful daughter, Gabriela.
Yeah.
She was born, a month. This is just a month now. And I mean, I'm, team no sleep, 1 hour of sleep. It's better right now, but man, it's all worth it. It's all worth it.
Yeah.
She's beautiful. She reminds me of her mother. And then sometimes I look at her and she's like, oh, that's a little bit of me. But
Right.
man, I'm completely in love.
Now, how does this kind of change things for you? Obviously, a lot of this it did consume a lot of your time. I know you're adjusting now and
Mhm.
kind of shuffling and moving things around. Anything change? I mean, now that the responsibility has changed up a little bit. I mean, what?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the things of change is time. Like when you don't have, I guess when you don't have kids and you're young, you think the time is, it's just there. So you do what you want to do.
Right.
You wake up at whatever time you
Right.
want to wake up, and you do.
Yep.
But when you have kids, the time that you don't have, you're really given to them, right? So what time do you
Yeah.
have for yourself? So one of the things that I'm learning right now is, and my wife is teaching me this all the time because she's great at planning. She's better than me. Is putting things into perspective and putting things at a first, right? So she's like, listen, what's more important right now? What can we get done right now? So my
Mm,
mind is a little bit different because I think about the whole general thing and I overstress sometimes of the whole general
sure.
aspect. And she just kind of helps me to get grounded and to tell me, okay, this is what's important. This is what's not important. And I'm learning that. I'm learning that as a man, as a father, I'm learning that
Mm,
time is the most valuable asset that we ever have and that we will ever have. And that time wasted it's time that we cannot earn, right? So
yep.
we need to make sure that we do everything. So that's what we're as a couple struggling with right now is timing, right, for each other and to
Yeah.
pursue the
Sure.
careers and the goals that we have as individuals. But it's fun. I mean, it's life. It's a roller coaster, but life is also a journey, and you have to
Yeah.
love that process. Everything has their highs and lows, and right now we're just learning to having this baby has changed everything, right? So I used to go to the
Sure.
studio from like 12 to 2 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And then go home,
Yeah.
and my wife was completely fine with it. Now
Yep.
it's like, the baby needs changing. We need to help each other. So it's just
Right.
adjusting, man. But it's a beautiful time in our lives. That's all I can say right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you're never, going to change that for the world. I mean, that's just, that's how things work. But you're right. I mean, time really it stops, but it goes really fast.
Yeah.
It's so weird on how it works, and you do, kind of take it. You take advantage, I guess, leading up until that. Now, obviously, for you and your wife, you guys were able to really grow into your relationship for quite a long time. And I think that's powerful to do. It doesn't always happen that
Okay.
way, but where you're blessed in that regards. I know that my wife and I we dated for a while, and then we got married, and lived with each other, got all almost all the fights out, right? By the time that we had our daughter, we were prepared and we were ready, and we're
Yeah.
glad that that happened that way.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't always plan it that way, but that's how it happened, and that's super powerful. So I guess, let's talk about, how did all this start? I mean, where do you come from?
Yeah.
How did you grow up?
So I grew up in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, which is a small island of Puerto Rico, but beautiful island full of beautiful
Yeah.
people. And I was born there. And I came to the United States when I was 9. All right. So my childhood, I really recall it as just being young in Puerto Rico, riding bike all over the place. I mean, the environment of just being in an island, right? The Caribbean vibe. It's a whole different vibe from here, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So moving on from there, I came here, completely life-changing, right? Everyone, you don't know your neighbor, coming from a place where you know everyone around you, and the neighbors can spank you, right? Because that's completely Caribbean. Like if you cross and you get this mango from this tree and not supposed to, they'll hit you. You're okay with that. But coming in here and not able to ride bike because the 441 is too close. Let's say where I used to live, and then no one knows each other. It was just depression for me as a kid. It was horrible. But then you adjust and you learn and you find your passions and you find singing. Like I said, I've been singing since I was like 5 years old, and then finding I think what helped me through that childhood process was finding a good community, right? Finding good friends that I can relate to, that I can, in this case, I worship God together and find that identity. But that shaped me through here. So I did that. And then I decided to further my career. I went to MacArthur. I went to MacArthur High School, right? So anyone who knows MacArthur, I went to MacArthur High School, and then I decided to pursue a career in marketing. I didn't know what I wanted to study in the beginning, but I knew I love logos, I love colors, I love posters and things like that, and in the branding aspect of that, and also presenting. I was really good at, having, let's say, for example, I had a project or a classroom project. I love standing and giving that pitch of that idea, especially science projects. So I knew that I wanted to do marketing. I just didn't know what branch of marketing I wanted to pursue. So as I started, I graduated from FAU, and while I was working, I was working at a school that it was a construction school. They were helping people get licensed. Well, the school closed down, and one of the partners from that school decided to open a different school and said, Gabriel, do you want to come with me? I was like, listen, I'm in my last year almost. I'm about graduating. I think I want to pursue a career in marketing. He's like, why don't you come with me? So he opened the school. It was just me and another guy. It was like 3 guys, I think it was. We didn't have desks. I mean, we didn't have anything. We didn't have a website. So studying marketing and loving that, I said, listen, why don't I do the website? Why don't I teach for you? And he was like, you sure you can do it, man? You're only 22 years old. I was like, give me just, let me learn. YouTube was my best friend. And I learned how to do a website, how to do video. And the crazy thing is that when I graduated, I thought I was going to go out to the corporate world. But when I started realizing, and not for anything, but I started realizing, like, okay, there's people that make this much in the corporate world, and there's a licensed contractor that make this much money. I said, maybe I have the opportunity to get licenses and make money in these other areas. So we made an agreement. We made a contract, like kind of like self-employed. He's like, listen, I want to give you the freedom that you want to have. If you want to do websites for other people or marketing or whatever you do, the videos, do it yourself, but will you work with me? And that's what I'm doing right now. I've been doing this for about, I think, 10 or 11 years. So everything I've learned in this startup company, which wasn't mine, I kind of use another guy's money and time. I've learned so that I can use it for myself, and that's the story of Gabriel, basically, as fast as I possibly can throw it at you. But the whole process has been a journey, and just learning and loving the fact that God has brought people that have trusted me with their businesses has been, it's been amazing. That's all I can tell you.
Right. Well, and that's because they know you, right? Because trust is everything. And you're a trustworthy person. Why? Because, yes, you have a great deal of faith, but you remember you're chasing the mission rather than the messenger, right? In the message, so that's extremely important. And that's why you've been so successful. So you still work with this guy. So
absolutely.
You're running the other half of his company, right? I mean, is that kind of how it works, or?
Yeah. So he used to teach all the classes and stuff, and little by little, I love just learning everything that I can. I just find value in that. And I graduated with my it was major marketing, and then I had a business degree, so I had that accounting and business degree there. So I started learning, and I took a couple of the state exams. I passed. I got my license, and I said, maybe this is a passion of me, teaching and helping others. And I did that, and I started a YouTube channel for him. I started doing online courses. That took, just flight from its own. I mean, it took a life of its own. People started enrolling. The school started making money. And just to see that creativity process that I had, and the marketing skills being sharpened up through time, and seeing how you can make money on that, just kept
Yeah.
me with the guy. I said, listen, why don't we just, work something out together, and hopefully one day I'll have my own school, but
Yeah.
I learned that, and this is what happens, I think, with my generation, is that we want things easy and fast,
Yeah.
and we don't stay in
Mm.
jobs for longer than maybe a year or 12 months or maybe like 6 months or so, and then we leave because we're always looking for something. But if we just learn how to be patient and learn from the people
Yes.
that we have around us, life will surprise you, and that's what
Yeah.
I've learned. Stay faithful where you're at, be good at your job, and do it with the passion of helping others, not with the intentions of money's not everything. I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, money's great to have, but when you do it with passion,
Right.
the money follows. And that's what I experienced so far in my life.
Well, yeah. And I mean, and it sounds like, and I mean, this is usually what we end up talking about, is that you're really running your personal life, you're running your business, your multiple businesses, right? Because let's not even talk about you getting your license, right? Your
Yeah.
contractor's
Yeah. So
license
I got a couple
with
of
your
contractor
dad's
licenses,
companies,
and my
right?
dad's always been a carpenter. So I told my dad, listen, here's the licenses. Let's work together. So that's taking off in there. But it's having multiple, now that I'm older, you said if something changed when I had a baby.
Yeah.
I think it's learning that it's always best to have multiple sources of income, not just one.
Yes.
And that can give you that freedom that you need to do to pursue your passion. But you're gonna have to work, and you're gonna have to put long hours to see that fruit after.
Yeah. Well, and I like what you said about, YouTube, not only just building your YouTube channel and doing all that kind of stuff, but you're very inquisitive and you like to learn about things, because this world that we live in, like, you and I are not, these young kids. You probably know a heck of a lot more than most, obviously, from what you've been studying. But I'm talking about in the marketing world, like building sales funnels, starting
Mhm.
businesses.
Mhm.
Like there are some things that people are probably listening right now or later, that they're afraid to make moves because they don't know how to do something. And it's so silly, because we have all this information at our fingertips.
Yeah.
All you have to do is figure it out, but take action.
I think
You know,
sometimes it's the paralysis of analysis. I think my dad has always spoke
yeah.
to me about this. Like, Gabriel, you like to analyze things and plan things, but it's going to take that first step, right? So
Mhm.
anyone right now who's listening to this podcast, you want to start a business, you have no excuse. I mean, you turn YouTube, you go to Google,
Right.
whatever question you have, if you're just willing to put the time and the effort, someone would explain it to you. Maybe not the first video,
Yeah.
but maybe the second, if you just stay there. And before you
Yeah.
know it, you know how to open up a Shopify or a WooCommerce or whatever other trend right now is going as far as sales. But it's just that willing to put that time. And if you just plan so much, and you plan and plan and plan is great, but you don't take no action, nothing's going to happen. So a lot of times I tell
Powerful.
anyone, young people that follow me in the channel, a lot of people that follow me in the channel, they tell me, Gabriel, how do you do what you do? I mean, you see, when I was a kid, I used to look up, and I still look up to, but I looked at those artists, those Christian artists that would record albums and just go throughout the whole world. And they were in this nonprofit singing for this organization, and they were able to maybe do a concert and bring attention to this cause. And I would look at those people and I would say, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. But I
Right.
saw it so far away, I didn't know how to do it. And I started to realize one day, just kind of click, Gabriel, just grab a mic, grab a camera, and just record. Let's see what happens.
Right.
And
Right.
sometimes it's just that easy. You need to start. Stop
Ah,
sometimes planning so much. Planning is great, but the first video is not going to come out great. But the
yeah.
second one might come out better than the first one, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's so funny that you say that. Like, I started this podcast at the end of last year.
Okay.
And I still don't know what I'm doing. Right. But I didn't even have the camera turned on. I mean, me and my first guest, which is, a great friend of mine, we were on this thing for an hour and we didn't even realize the cameras weren't even on, so it was a lot of fun, but whatever, it doesn't matter. But you're right. Like, it's not going to be perfect at the beginning. Like, and I think you're right. I think not only your generation, but the generations, especially now, that are about this instant gratification. They want something
Yep.
right now. I got news for you. It's not going to happen right now. And if it
No.
does, it's going to be ugly. It's not going to look good.
So,
it's not going to feel good.
I'm reading this book right now. It's called, and I have it because I'm just in a few chapters, like I think the 5th chapter or so. But it's a great book to read. It's called The Millionaire Fast Lane. It's
Mhm.
actually MJ DeMarco, right? So he talks
Yep.
about how to pursue that, right? And I got the book not because of the millionaire title. Somebody recommended to me as far as being an entrepreneur and start your business, but he talks about that. He talks about how planning is good. You have to know where to go, but then you have to be persistent on that road, right? That you're
Yeah.
taking. And that's the hard part. I mean, once you learn how to turn on a camera, just talk and see what happens. And then you learn how to edit. And then it's people ask me, wow, you got to 70, 9,000 or whatever. How do you do that? It started with the first subscriber and then the second
Right.
subscriber and the third until we got to 70 something. But if I wouldn't have never recorded, I would have never gotten here. So the question is, what are you doing with your time? Right. And just trust the process. I mean, that's crazy how you say that you started your podcast. I remember recording, and not having the audio turned on for the songs. So I had to record the whole thing again. And
Right.
anyone who looks at my YouTube channel, everything that I sing, it's live at that moment.
Yeah.
And it's you can't recreate that again. So you got to do it again,
Right.
and that's going to be 2-3 o'clock in the morning, but so what? Before YouTube paid me, even gave me a check or whatever the case might be, I did it with the intentions of not doing that, just being the best that I could. And the money followed right after, it's a great blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that you say that because a lot of people, when they get into business or they start chasing their dreams and chasing, whatever it is that their guts pulling at them to do, they're looking for the payday and they're looking for the payoff, and they're not really looking at, the big picture, but those baby steps that need to take place. It's, you were talking about your daughter, there's going to be a time to where, she starts taking steps. And as a parent, I remember when my daughter first started walking, I was scared. Like I had pillows ready. Like if she falls this way, I got a pillow here. If she does this, and I started to realize, like, if you keep putting pillows out, right, she's never going to fall. She's never going to know how to fall. She's never going to know that that's okay to fall. She's not, and they get these big googly eyes looking at you like they'll smack their forehead on the cement ground, and they'll look at you because they're looking to see if you're going to respond. Right. And when you don't, then they're like, all right, I'm fine.
I'm okay.
It's amazing that, like year 2, you're not worried about your kid even sticking their finger in the light socket. You're like, it'll zap them a little bit. They won't ever do it again, right? You start to become different. But I think when we chase something, is we're really, like you said, over analyzing and over planning. And like your dad said, nothing's ever going to happen until you take step 1, right? Until you take that failure, and take that step. Wow, man, dude, you've given all the nuggets that I wanted you to give tonight and more. I don't even know what you're going to say next, but I got to ask you, for the people that are listening right now, what is, it doesn't have to be one piece of advice. It could be one kind of maybe finishing, part of what kind of drives you, and what is your biggest lesson, I guess, that you've learned? What kind of advice do you have for the people that are listening?
Yeah, so I'll talk to anyone out there who maybe wants to start a business or wants to pursue a passion they have, and they're afraid of taking that first step. I think it's so hard to take that first step in everything in life. I mean, it doesn't even have to be with opening a business. It can be with making a career change. It can be with something in your family. Sometimes you just have to have faith. I mean, it's just that simple. You don't know what's the next step, but if you never take the step, you'll never know. And can you live with that? Right. Some of the biggest regrets in any deathbed will be, I wish I could have done this and I never did it. Right. So whoever's listening right now, you might be going through a challenging portion in your life where you're like, I just need to take that next step. I don't know if I should. Right. Sometimes just taking it and having that leap of faith. And then my other advice I would tell my younger self, right, this is something that I always keep preaching, is learn how to trust the process. And also, things are not that difficult, right? Like, what I'm trying to say is this: it seems difficult at first, but then it'll become second nature, right? So grab the camera, grab your phone, record. You want to do a podcast? Go ahead and do it. You want to go ahead and record
Yeah.
a YouTube channel? Start right away. You want to write a book? Grab a pen, right? Open
Yep.
up your word and just a book. It never starts if you don't write the first sentence, and you have to
Yeah.
start. Every great book starts with the first sentence of the first word. So you need to do it.
Yeah.
And search everything you can. And then once you find out what you want to do, and sometimes you don't even know what you want to do. You just know you have a
Yeah.
great talent, you know you can do it. And then it just starts taking place and he evolves. And then the last advice that I would give anyone as far as is to do things with passion and do it with the care of helping others.
Yeah.
When you genuinely want to help people, you can have all the marketing in the world. I mean, you can have all the top dollars, but it will never take it will never take the way of helping people genuinely. So I'll give you a great example. When I first started working here, I saw the need of people wanting to become painters or carpenters in Broward County, especially when I'm out here. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do a YouTube video. This is for the where I work at right now. I said, I'm going to do a video that will help people how to complete this form on their own. There's a lot of people out there scamming, taking thousands of dollars to do that. Let me just do it for free. I remember I turned my camera on, I did it, and I pretty much teach people how to fill that application. I mean, all they have to do is just listen to the video. I mean, step by step, visual, everything. I mean, I provide the context and the content that they need. And till this day, I think that video is more than 7 years old. People still call me today. Gabriel, I want you to fill my application. I'm willing to pay you whatever you need. And my intentions were never to get business. My intentions was to genuinely help a need. And when you find that need and that niche and you do it from a genuine heart, the money, the people, the friendships will come after. I mean, you help that one person with a genuine spirit, and you will see how that marketing that you did, and I call it marketing because it's that word of mouth marketing that you cannot buy with money, right?
Yeah.
It's that one person you help out accomplish your dreams, that one person that you help out start a business, and that person will never forget you, and he will tell everyone about you. And is that brand loyalty you cannot buy with money. And that's my advice. My advice is do it, and do it with the intentions of a good heart. Ask yourself, why am I doing it? Am I doing it to acquire money, to become famous? If you're doing it with that, it's going to be a time where you are going to reach that goal. And then what's going to happen is you're not going to have any motivation. But if your motivation is to help others and to see others grow, then your biggest business asset that you have is generally feeling the love and helping other people succeed. And if you have that, trust me, the money will come after.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Like what you said, I'm just thinking in my head, intention, because you're right. People chase the wrong things, you know, whether it's in social media or whether it's, you know, in the regular media, right, of politics or, you know, companies and businesses. They're chasing the wrong intention, because you'll get what you want if you help enough other people get what they want, right? Like, you know, that is a powerful statement, man. We could probably talk for another hour, you know, but I know that time is valuable, as we spoke about before.
I got a couple of diapers to change. I know that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So,
no, but listen, it's been such a blessing. I mean, thank you for connecting with me and for I love. I'm gonna say this. He has not paid me for this, okay? But I want to say this. I love to see you doing what you love to do, right?
Yeah.
So a little history about us. We met when we used to work at the gym, and let me tell you something. I didn't know anyone who worked harder than you, right? We used to have this little thing, you know, just office talk. Man, Clinton would just show up on Saturdays, Sundays, and your motivation was sell the next person you can sell. And I remember seeing you giving lessons, like training lessons, because we had people in the gym that all they did it was for money, and then they wouldn't show up and they would cancel appointments. And there you were, 5 a.m, showing people how to lose body fat and look better. And that's something, I mean, out of all because, you know, you were my boss. That's just the truth. Okay. Out of all the bosses that I have, I never had someone so passionate do what they did with a caring heart. And, you know, obviously, you know, those who have heard you before heard your story and how that, you know, took time and you learned valuable lessons. But the great aspect of just seeing you right now, helping others and doing that with a great passion. I see your stories on IG and
Yeah.
Facebook, and they get my day going, man. I mean, I love
Yeah.
to see your dogs in the morning, you're running, and your little bandana that you have here. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
man, keep on doing what you're doing.
I
I know it's
appreciate
been a
that.
blessing to anyone, and anyone who listens to this podcast right now that is struggling, maybe with even depression or just feel like they don't want to do anything. Listen, it's all about who you listen to. So,
Yeah.
Provoke coach, man, that's my coach.
Yeah.
So
Oh
thank you.
man, I appreciate that. Well, I'm gonna have you stick around just for a couple minutes, Gabe. After we're done here with the broadcast, everybody that's listening, hey, look, if you did like this podcast, you like the message, go ahead and share it. Share it with somebody that will like it. Share it with somebody that needs it, and they maybe need a little bit of fire in their belly, if you will. Remember, we're always looking to provoke positive change in people, and of course your peak performance as well. So we will see you next time. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.